I still remember the look on Darren's face, that cold, calculated stare as he said the words that turned my world upside down. "Sarah, we're letting you go. Pack your things." My stomach dropped. I had just returned from my custody hearing for my 6-year-old daughter Lily, a hearing that Darren, my boss of 5 years, had approved me to attend just last week. "But you approved my leave," I stammered, trying to make sense of his words. The marketing department around us fell silent. 20 pairs of eyes watched us from behind computer screens. "I did no such thing," Darren replied, his voice flat. "There's no record of any approved leave in our system. You abandoned your team during the Westridge project launch." My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. "I have the email you sent me. You wrote approved? Handle the Henderson brief before you go." Darren's smile was thin and dangerous. "Check again." I opened my email. The approval message was gone, completely vanished, like it never existed. "You have 1 hour to clear out your desk," he said, turning on his heel. "HR is expecting you." I stood frozen as he walked away, my mind racing. This wasn't just about a job. Without steady income, I could lose Lily to my manipulative ex-husband. He'd been waiting for exactly this kind of mistake. The office buzzed with whispers as I slowly packed my desk. 5 years of memories fit into a single cardboard box. Framed photos of Lily, handwritten thank you notes from junior staff I'd mentored, the small crystal award for last year's successful Henderson campaign. Omar, my closest colleague, approached while Darren was in a meeting. "This is wrong," he whispered, helping me pack. "Everyone knows you had approval. What's really going on?" I shook my head, fighting back tears. "I don't know, Omar, but I can't lose it here." My team gathered around, their faces showing confusion and support. Melissa handed me a card they'd hastily signed. Jules offered to call her brother who practiced law. I thanked them, but kept packing. When Darren returned and saw the small crowd, he clapped his hands loudly. "Don't you all have deadlines? Back to work?" I squared my shoulders and lifted my box. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me break down. Not when so much was at stake. "Good luck filling my client relationships," I said quietly, meeting his eyes. Westridge specifically asked for me on their account. Something flickered across his face. Worry, perhaps, but it vanished quickly. I walked out with my head high, though my heart was shattered. I had 6 weeks of savings. Lily's future hung in the balance. The HR office felt colder than usual. Barbara Kent, newly hired last month, sat rigidly behind her desk, a termination packet laid out like a sacrifice. "Please understand, this isn't personal," she began, not meeting my eyes. "It feels extremely personal when I had explicit permission to attend my daughter's custody hearing," I replied, keeping my voice steady. Barbara shifted uncomfortably. "There's no record of approved leave, Sarah. I've checked thoroughly." I pulled out my phone again, scrolling frantically through emails. "That's impossible," Darren replied to my request last Tuesday. I even confirmed it in our team meeting. "Digital records can be modified," Barbara whispered, then immediately straightened up as if catching herself. She slid the termination packet forward. "Your severance includes 4 weeks of pay, contingent on signing this non-disparagement agreement and 6-month non-compete clause." My blood ran cold. A non-compete would make finding a new job in our specialized industry nearly impossible. Without income, my ex would have ammunition for his custody case. "Who made this decision, Barbara? Really?" She hesitated, glancing at her office door. "This came from above, Darren, executive level." She lowered her voice. "Be careful, Sarah. I've seen other departures handled differently. I didn't sign. I couldn't. Not yet. Not with Lily's future at stake." That evening, as I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by job listings and legal websites, my phone rang. The number wasn't familiar. "Sarah Blake speaking," I answered, trying to sound confident despite the half-eaten microwave dinner beside me. "Sarah, this is Aaron Keene from Ridgewell and Grant." My heart skipped. Ridgewell was our biggest competitor. Aaron Keene was their CEO. 6 months ago, he tried to recruit me after seeing my presentation at the marketing summit. "I heard what happened at Harrison and Pierce today," he continued. "Word travels fast in our industry." "News to me," I said, my voice tight. I was under the impression I had a confidential termination. Aaron paused. "Let's just say several concerned people reached out. Listen, my offer still stands. Actually, it's better. Director of West Coast Strategy. 20% increase on your current salary plus performance bonuses. My mind raced. It was a dream opportunity, yet completely impossible. I have a non-compete they want me to sign, I admitted. And my ex-husband is using my job loss in our custody case. The timing couldn't be worse. Don't sign anything yet, Aaron replied firmly. We have excellent lawyers. This sounds like wrongful termination, Sarah. We can help, but only if you want us to. Hope flickered for the first time that day. My phone buzzed constantly the next morning. Text after text from my former team rolled in. Darren can't find the Henderson presentation files. Omar, the Westridge meeting was a disaster. Client keeps asking for you. Melissa. 2 junior staff already talking about leaving. Jules. I felt a complicated mix of vindication and worry. I'd built that team from the ground up, mentored each member personally. Now they were adrift, and their struggles reflected poorly on them. Not just Darren. A private LinkedIn message arrived from Charlotte, our biggest client. What's this about you leaving? We specifically requested you for our rebranding. I answered carefully, aware of potential legal issues. It was unexpected. Harrison and Pierce still has a strong team. Not interested, she replied instantly. Our contract specifies you as lead. We need to talk. Meanwhile, Omar called during lunch. It's chaos here, he whispered. Darren's throwing blame everywhere. The niece they hired to replace you doesn't know anything about our client base. Niece? I asked, confused. Whose niece? Senior partner Lawrence Parker's niece, Omar replied. She started this morning. Has your old office already? Darren's been showing her around like she's marketing royalty. The pieces started falling into place. My sudden termination wasn't about my absence at all. I met Omar at a coffee shop far from the office. He looked over his shoulder constantly, clearly nervous. I shouldn't be here, he said, pushing a flash drive across the table. But what they did to you was wrong. What's this? I asked, picking up the small drive. Emails, calendar invites. I've been backing up important communications since the Anderson incident last year. Omar leaned closer. 2 weeks ago, Darren had a closed-door meeting with Lawrence Parker. The next day, he started asking weird questions about your performance record, looking for problems. But there weren't any, I said. Exactly. Your numbers were the best in the department, so they needed another reason. Omar sipped his coffee. Parker's niece just graduated from Wharton. She needed a senior position, your salary range, your office, your team. So my approved day off became the excuse, I finished, anger building inside me. Omar nodded. They deleted the approval email from the server. I saw IT working on Darren's computer yesterday. That's illegal, I whispered, shocked. There's more, Omar said grimly. Darren told the team you're leaving to care for a family emergency. He's making it sound like you chose to leave. And that non-compete? It's new language, much stricter than our standard contract. They weren't just firing me. They were erasing me. Vincent Torres's law office smelled of old books and fresh coffee. His reputation for handling both employment and custody cases made him perfect for my situation. This is quite the mess, he said, reviewing the documents I'd brought. The non-compete is overly restrictive. Courts don't look kindly on agreements that prevent someone from earning a living, especially under these circumstances. Can we fight it? I asked. Absolutely, but first, tell me about this custody situation. I explained how my ex-husband, Michael, had already filed an emergency motion citing my unstable employment as grounds for full custody of Lily. Classic opportunistic move, Vincent frowned. The timing is suspicious. Has Michael been in contact with anyone at your former company? The question hit me like a truck. He plays golf with Lawrence Parker, I said slowly. They're in the same country club. Vincent's eyebrows shot up. Now that's interesting. He pulled out a yellow legal pad. Let's talk strategy. We need to address both fronts, wrongful termination and custody. They're connected. If we prove you were wrongfully terminated, the custody argument collapses. I can't afford a lengthy legal battle, I admitted. You may not have to, Vincent replied. If we can recover proof of that approval email, Harrison and Pierce might settle quickly. For the first time, I felt like I had a fighting chance. But I needed that proof. I think I know someone who can help, I said, thinking of Leo, my tech-savvy neighbor. You're lucky you backed up your phone to the cloud last week, Leo said, his fingers flying across the keyboard. We sat in his apartment, surrounded by computer monitors and empty energy drink cans. Leo had been my neighbor for 3 years. A cybersecurity consultant by day, he'd helped me set up parental controls on Lily's tablet last summer. Now I needed his expertise for something much more important. "Can you really recover a deleted email?" I asked. "If it was in your cloud backup before someone removed it from the server, absolutely." He clicked through several more screens. "There!" He turned the monitor toward me. There it was, Darren's email from last Tuesday, 10:47 a.m. "Request approved for court leave on Friday. Please handle the Henderson brief before you go. Darren Cray, Marketing Director." "It's time-stamped and authenticated," Leo explained. "The server logs would show if it was deleted after the fact." I felt tears of relief forming. "Leo, you're a lifesaver." "Not done yet," he said, inserting a flash drive. "Let's get screenshots, the original file, and the metadata. Your lawyer will need everything properly documented." As he worked, my phone buzzed with a text from Omar. "Darren knows we met. He's asking everyone where you might have gone. Be careful." My stomach tightened. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Omar's updates painted a grim picture of Harrison and Pierce in the days following my departure. The Westridge project was falling apart. Their representatives had walked out of a presentation when they learned I wasn't involved. Charlotte from Henderson Brands was threatening to pull her business entirely. 3 junior staff members had already submitted resignations. "Parker's niece, Amanda, is completely overwhelmed," Omar texted. "She keeps asking where all the strategy documents are, not realizing they're mostly in your head." Darren had called 3 emergency meetings in 2 days. In the last one, he'd lost his temper, throwing a binder across the conference room when someone mentioned my name. "Barbara from HR is asking questions too," Omar reported. "She requested all email communications about your leave. Darren told her to mind her own business." Meanwhile, Lawrence Parker had appeared on the marketing floor. Something almost unheard of. The senior partner usually remained in his corner office sanctuary. He'd spend an hour in Darren's office, voices occasionally rising loud enough for the team to hear words like, "fix this," and "damage control." Most concerning was the revelation that IT had been instructed to review all employee emails, supposedly for security compliance. People were getting nervous, deleting personal messages, switching to text for communications. The pressure was building inside Harrison and Pierce, and something had to give. Vincent's office became command central for our counter-strategy. He reviewed the recovered email evidence with professional admiration. "This is excellent," he said. "Not only do we have proof of approval, but the suspicious deletion strengthens our case for wrongful termination." He drafted a demand letter to Harrison and Pierce outlining the facts. Approved leave, mysterious deletion of evidence, connection between Lawrence Parker and my ex-husband, and the suspicious timing of hiring Parker's niece. "We're not just claiming wrongful termination," Vincent explained. "We're alleging conspiracy, evidence tampering, and potential fraud. The fact that they tried to hide their actions makes this much worse for them." "What do we ask for?" I wondered. "Full reinstatement, back pay, legal fees, and punitive damages," Vincent said. "Plus a formal retraction of any negative statements. We won't get all of it, but it establishes our position." I hesitated. Do I even want to go back there? Vincent smiled knowingly. "Probably not. But demanding reinstatement strengthens your negotiating position for a better settlement." The letter was delivered by courier the next morning. Within hours, Harrison and Pierce's legal team requested a meeting. "They're worried," Vincent said when he called me. "They're offering a settlement already, but they want you to sign that non-disparagement clause." "No deal," I said firmly. "This isn't just about money. This is about my reputation and my daughter." The custody courtroom felt suffocating. Michael sat across the aisle with his attorney, looking polished in an expensive suit. He'd always been good at appearances. "Your Honor," his lawyer argued, "Miss Blake's sudden unemployment demonstrates instability in her home environment. My client offers consistency and financial security for the minor child." Judge Watkins, a stern woman with silver-rimmed glasses, turned to me. "Miss Blake, how do you respond to these concerns?" My lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we filed a wrongful termination suit against Ms. Blake's former employer. We have evidence that her approved leave was deliberately deleted from company records to justify her termination. He presented the recovered email and an expert analysis of the metadata. Furthermore, he continued, we have reason to believe Mr. Blake may have communicated with senior leadership at Harrison and Pierce prior to this suspicious termination. Michael's face flushed red. The judge's eyes narrowed. These are serious allegations, Judge Watkins noted. Mr. Blake, do you have any relationship with Harrison and Pierce executives? Michael stammered. I know Lawrence Parker socially. We golf occasionally. The judge studied him carefully. I'm delaying ruling on this custody modification until the wrongful termination matter is resolved. The current arrangement remains in place. As we left the courtroom, I caught Michael furiously texting. I didn't need to see his screen to know he was contacting Lawrence Parker. The house of cards was starting to wobble. 3 days after the custody hearing, Vincent called with unexpected news. The State Bar Association has opened an ethics investigation into Michael, he said, his voice tinged with surprise. Apparently, he's been involved in some questionable client billing practices at his firm. The timing is interesting. You think someone reported him? I asked. Records show the complaint came from within his own firm, someone with detailed knowledge of his cases. I remembered Michael's junior partner, who had always seemed uncomfortable around him. Perhaps Michael's arrogance had finally caught up with him. The investigation created a critical shift in our custody case. Vincent immediately filed a motion highlighting the ethics probe, arguing that Michael's professional conduct raised serious concerns about his fitness as a parent. Judge Watkins agreed to suspend Michael's emergency custody petition, pending the bar investigation. Better yet, she ordered him to maintain distance from Lily's school and my home, except during his scheduled visitation days. He's furious, my sister reported after dropping Lily off from a visit. He was on the phone the whole time, shouting about betrayal and payback. For the first time, I felt the momentum shifting. Michael had always used his professional standing as a weapon against me in our custody battles. Now that carefully crafted image was crumbling. I received a text from Barbara at HR. We need to talk, privately. The pressure inside Harrison and Pierce was reaching a breaking point. Omar called me from the stairwell, his voice hushed and urgent. Darren completely lost it today, he reported. He found out I gave you copies of emails, and he fired me on the spot, in front of everyone. My heart sank. Omar, I'm so sorry. Don't be, he replied, sounding strangely calm. Barbara from HR was there. She told Darren his termination wasn't approved and ordered me back to my desk. I nearly dropped my phone. She overruled him? In public? The whole floor went silent, Omar said. Darren's face turned purple. He stormed off to Parker's office, but Parker refused to see him. This was a significant development. Senior partners rarely involved themselves in department conflicts. If Parker was distancing himself from Darren, something major was happening behind the scenes. Later that afternoon, Melissa texted that Darren had been summoned to an executive meeting. He returned looking shaken, then locked himself in his office for the rest of the day. The legal team has been in and out of the conference room, Jules added in our group chat. Someone overheard them discussing exposure and liability. That evening, my phone rang, Barbara from HR. I can't say much, she said quietly. But if you're considering legal action, you should know there are others here who believe you were wronged, and were willing to say so. The tide was turning faster than I could have imagined. I met Barbara at a small cafe across town. She arrived looking nervous, constantly checking over her shoulder. I could lose my job for this, she began, sliding a folder across the table. But what happened to you was wrong. Inside were copies of emails between Darren and Lawrence Parker discussing the Blake situation and how to create an opening for Amanda Parker. Most damning was a calendar invitation for a meeting titled Restructuring Marketing Leadership, scheduled 2 weeks before my termination. There's more, Barbara said. After Omar's incident, 2 other employees came forward, Louise from accounting and Jason from legal. They've been documenting everything. Louise had kept records showing Amanda Parker's position and salary had been created weeks before I was fired. Jason had emails proving Darren specifically instructed IT to review and clean up my email history. Why are you helping me? I asked Barbara. She hesitated. Because last year I lost a job similar to how you did. Nobody stood up for me. I promised myself I'd never be a bystander to that kind of injustice again. As Barbara left, she mentioned that Harrison and Pierce's legal team was in panic mode. Their initial settlement offer had doubled overnight. They know they're vulnerable, she said, and they're terrified more employees will speak up. I texted Vincent immediately. We have insider documents and witnesses. Time to increase the pressure. The wrongful termination hearing was set for an unusually quick date. Harrison and Pierce had tried repeatedly to settle, but I refused their offers, all of which included strict confidentiality clauses. The courtroom was packed. To my surprise, nearly half my former team sat in the gallery, including Omar, Melissa, and Jules. Barbara had come with Louise and Jason, all looking nervous but determined. Vincent presented our case methodically. The recovered approval email, the suspicious timing, the documented plan to replace me with Parker's niece, and the connection to my custody battle. When he called Barbara to testify, the Harrison and Pierce lawyers visibly tensed. Miss Kent, in your professional HR capacity, was Ms. Blake's termination handled according to company policy? Vincent asked. No, Barbara answered clearly. It violated at least 6 protocols, including required documentation and progressive discipline steps. Darren testified next, growing increasingly defensive under Vincent's questioning. When presented with the recovered email showing he had approved my leave, he claimed it was fabricated, until Vincent produced the server logs showing its deletion after my termination. So either you approved the leave and then deleted the evidence, Vincent pressed, or someone else deleted it to make it appear Ms. Blake had abandoned her position. Which is it, Mr. Cray? Darren's face went pale. He looked desperately toward the Harrison and Pierce legal team, who avoided his gaze. I was following instructions, he finally muttered. Whose instructions? Vincent asked. The courtroom held its breath. Lawrence Parker instructed me to create an opening for his niece. Darren admitted, his voice barely audible. A murmur swept through the courtroom. The judge called for order, her expression severe. And did Mr. Parker know about the deleted email approval? Vincent continued. Darren hesitated, then nodded. He suggested we clean up any contradicting records. The Harrison and Pierce attorneys immediately requested a recess. When court resumed an hour later, their lead counsel approached with a settlement offer. The terms were spectacular. Full back pay, 6 months severance, legal fees, and, most importantly, a public retraction of all claims against me. Vincent showed me the document. This is very favorable, he whispered. And there's no confidentiality clause. You can talk about what happened. I studied the offer, thinking of Lily, my team, and everything I'd endured. Is there a non-compete? None, Vincent confirmed. They've dropped that completely. I signed. The judge reviewed the settlement and approved it immediately. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited. The story had leaked, a senior executive conspiring with a custody-seeking ex-husband to manufacture a wrongful termination. It was explosive. Harrison and Pierce issued their retraction that afternoon. By evening, news broke that Darren had been terminated. Lawrence Parker announced an early retirement the following day. My phone rang. Aaron Keene from Ridgewell and Grant. That director position is still yours if you want it, he said. And bring your team with you. For the first time in weeks, I smiled fully. I'll be there Monday. Judge Watkins' courtroom felt different this time. Calmer, more hopeful. Michael sat alone at his table. His lawyer had withdrawn from the case following the ethics investigation. Given recent developments, Judge Watkins began, I've reviewed this custody matter thoroughly. The wrongful termination case against Harrison and Pierce has been settled in Ms. Blake's favor, confirming her leave was properly approved. She turned to Michael. Additionally, the Bar Association's preliminary findings raise serious concerns about Mr. Blake's professional conduct and truthfulness. Michael started to protest, but the judge raised her hand. Mr. Blake, evidence suggests you communicated with Lawrence Parker about Ms. Blake's employment, potentially interfering with her livelihood to gain advantage in this custody matter. The judge's decision was decisive. I received full custody of Lily. Michael's visitation would be supervised until he completed ethics training and parenting classes. His emergency motions privilege was suspended for 1 year due to pattern of misuse. As we left the courtroom, Michael approached me. "This isn't over, Sarah," he hissed. I looked at him calmly. "Yes, it is. For Lily's sake, I hope you use this opportunity to become a better father and person." My lawyer squeezed my shoulder supportively as Michael stormed away. "He can appeal," she warned. "Let him try," I replied. The truth is finally on record. Walking into sunshine, I called Lily's school to share the good news. Our future was secure at last. My first day at Ridgewell and Grant felt like stepping into a new world. Aaron Keene personally showed me to my office, a corner space with windows overlooking the city and a nameplate reading, "Sarah Blake, Director of West Coast Strategy." "We're excited to have you," Aaron said, handing me a welcome packet. "Your reputation for building client relationships is exactly what we need to expand our presence." I reviewed my schedule, team introductions, client meetings, strategy sessions. But one appointment stood out, family policy review. Aaron noticed my questioning look. "That was my idea," he explained. "After what happened, I realized our company policies around family court, childcare emergencies, and parental needs could use updating. I'd like your input, given your experience." That afternoon, I proposed flexible scheduling for parents, protected leave for court appearances, and emergency childcare assistance. Aaron approved everything on the spot. "One more thing," I added hesitantly. "I'd like to establish a mentorship program for working parents in marketing, especially single parents trying to balance career advancement with family responsibilities." Aaron nodded thoughtfully. "Make it happen. Budget approved." I called Lily that evening to tell her about my new job. "Does this mean you'll pick me up from school sometimes?" she asked hopefully. "More often than before," I promised. "I've made sure of it." For the first time in months, I felt like I was building something meaningful, not just for myself, but for others who might face similar challenges. 2 weeks after I started at Ridgewell, Omar called. "Harrison and Pierce is imploding," he reported. "They've lost the Westridge account and Henderson is threatening to leave. Amanda Parker resigned yesterday. Apparently marketing wasn't her passion after all." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, only half meaning it. Omar cleared his throat. "So, several of us were wondering, are there any openings at Ridgewell?" I smiled to myself. I'd already discussed this possibility with Aaron. "Send me your resumes, all of you." Within a month, Omar, Melissa, Jules, and 2 junior staff members had joined Ridgewell and Grant. Barbara from HR even reached out, though she ultimately accepted a position at another firm, with a glowing recommendation from me. Our first team meeting felt like a reunion. The energy was electric as we brainstormed approaches for new client pitches. Without the toxic leadership we'd endured at Harrison and Pierce, creativity flourished. "This is how it always should have been," Omar commented during a coffee break. I nodded, watching my team collaborate with Ridgewell's existing staff. "We're building something better here." Aaron stopped by later that afternoon, observing the dynamic team in action. "I see why they followed you," he noted. "You've created quite the loyal group." "Loyalty comes from respect," I replied, something our previous leadership never understood. He smiled knowingly. "Their loss, our gain." 3 months later, Business News headlines announced, "Harrison and Pierce loses major accounts amid leadership exodus." The article detailed how the firm had lost 7 major clients, including Westridge and Henderson, representing over 40% of their annual revenue. Their stock had plummeted 28% in 6 weeks. Industry analysts cited leadership failures and talent drain as primary factors. Most telling was a quote from Charlotte at Henderson Brands. "We follow people, not company names." Sarah Blake and her team consistently delivered exceptional results with integrity. We're pleased to continue our relationship with them at Ridgewell and Grant. I hadn't poached any clients directly. I didn't need to. They had sought us out one by one, citing the quality of our previous work and their trust in our team. Meanwhile, Harrison and Pierce announced a strategic restructuring, corporate speak for mass layoffs. Their gleaming office space was partly sublet to save costs. The marketing department was collapsed into a smaller, creative services team. Lawrence Parker's replacement as senior partner gave a tense interview, claiming the firm was refocusing on core competencies. Aaron brought the article to our strategy meeting. "I won't pretend I'm not pleased," he admitted. "But remember, we succeed by focusing on excellence, not by celebrating others' downfall." I nodded, thinking of Lily's favorite saying, "Living well is the best response." And we were definitely living well. Darren Cray's professional fall was swift and public. After his termination from Harrison and Pierce, he attempted to establish a boutique marketing consultancy, leveraging his former title and connections. But word had spread throughout the industry. His involvement in my wrongful termination, now well documented in court records, made him toxic. Former clients refused his calls. Potential partners backed away after basic due diligence. At an industry conference 6 months later, I unexpectedly encountered him at the hotel bar. His appearance shocked me. The crisp suits replaced by wrinkled business casual, his confident demeanor now anxious and furtive. He spotted me and froze. For a moment I thought he might approach. Instead, he quickly settled his tab and hurried away, avoiding eye contact. Later that evening, a colleague mentioned seeing Darren handing out business cards, desperately trying to generate interest in his consulting services. "No one's biting," she reported. "His reputation is shot." I declined to comment on Darren's situation when asked directly by industry peers. There was no need to say anything negative. His actions and their consequences spoke volumes. Instead, I channeled my energy into building my department at Ridgewell, mentoring younger staff, and creating the supportive workplace culture I'd always envisioned. Justice hadn't required me to destroy Darren's career. He had done that all by himself. "Let your success be your statement," Vincent had advised. I took those words to heart. 1 year after my termination from Harrison and Pierce, I stood at a podium facing marketing industry leaders at the annual summit. The same summit where, a year earlier, I had presented as a senior coordinator for a now struggling firm. Today, I want to introduce Ridgewell and Grant's Family Forward Initiative, I began, looking out at the attentive crowd. A comprehensive approach to supporting working parents in high-performance environments. The presentation outlined our revolutionary policies: flexible scheduling, remote work options, emergency childcare support, and protected leave for family court proceedings. Most importantly, it demonstrated how these policies had improved retention, productivity, and client satisfaction. Supporting employees through life's challenges isn't just compassionate, it's good business, I concluded. When people aren't forced to choose between family and career, everyone benefits. The applause was immediate and enthusiastic. Afterward, executives from multiple firms approached, eager to learn more about implementing similar policies. A reporter from Marketing Weekly requested an interview. "What inspired this initiative?" she asked. I considered mentioning my experience at Harrison and Pierce, but chose a broader truth instead. Too many talented professionals are sidelined by family circumstances beyond their control, I explained. We wanted to create a model showing that compassion and performance can coexist. The article, published the following week, positioned Ridgewell and Grant as an industry leader in workplace culture. Applications to our firm doubled overnight. Aaron called it the best PR we never paid for. 6 months after the industry summit, a courier delivered a small package to my home. There was no return address, just my name carefully printed on the brown paper wrapping. Lily watched curiously as I opened it. Inside was a framed photograph I thought I'd lost forever. My marketing team from Harrison and Pierce, taken at the celebration for the Henderson campaign win. We were all smiling, arms around each other's shoulders, celebratory champagne glasses raised. A note was tucked inside. Some memories deserve to be preserved. Thank you for standing up for all of us, your real team. I traced the faces in the photo, remembering that day. We had delivered exceptional work under impossible deadlines, supporting each other through late nights and weekend sacrifices. It was never about Darren's leadership, it was about our collective commitment to excellence. Many of these faces now filled the halls at Ridgewell and Grant. Others had moved on to new opportunities, carrying with them the lessons from our shared experience. The frame found a place on my home office wall, next to Lily's artwork and family photos. Not as a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd gained. The knowledge that integrity and principle would always matter more than power or position. That evening, I sent a group text to my former team members, both those who had joined me and those who hadn't. The best teams stick together, even when they're apart. Thank you all. Saturday afternoon found Lily and me at her favorite playground. As she explored the jungle gym with growing confidence, I sat on a bench nearby, allowing myself a rare moment of reflection. 1 year ago, I had feared losing everything: my career, my reputation, even my daughter. Now, our life had not only stabilized but flourished in ways I couldn't have imagined. Lily's laughter rang out as she zoomed down the slide. The custody case was settled, with Michael's supervised visitation slowly transitioning to more normal arrangements as he completed his required courses. He seemed genuinely interested in becoming a better father, perhaps humbled by his professional setbacks. At work, my department was thriving. We had just landed our biggest client yet, and Darren had hinted at another promotion in the coming months. My Family Forward initiative had been adopted by 3 other major firms in our industry. My phone buzzed with a text from Omar. Guess who I just saw applying for an entry-level position at Kellerman Agency? Darren Cray. I put the phone away without responding. That chapter of my life was closed. Whatever happened to Darren now was his journey, not mine. Lily ran over, cheeks flushed with excitement. Mom, did you see how high I climbed? I saw, I said, pulling her into a hug. You're getting so brave. As we walked home hand in hand, I realized something profound had settled within me. It wasn't just relief that the worst was over, but a deeper peace, the kind that comes from facing injustice and emerging stronger on the other side. Can we get ice cream? Lily asked, skipping beside me. Absolutely, I answered, squeezing her hand. Some victories aren't measured in courtrooms or boardrooms, but in these simple moments of joy that almost slipped away. And no career achievement could ever compare to the sound of my daughter's laughter on a sunny afternoon. 1 year after Darren fired me, I received 2 emails: my promotion to vice president at Ridgewell and Grant, and a note from Barbara about Harrison and Pierce being acquired, with Parker's name removed from the door. That evening, Lily asked about my promotion. Is that good? She wondered. Yes, but having dinner with you is better, I replied. Later, I reflected on how I could have crumbled, signed their non-compete, accepted their lies, faded away. Instead, I stood my ground and built something better. The strongest response to wrongdoing isn't vengeance. It's living with integrity and creating positive change.